Case 10. Is going to plays and other theatrical performances consistent with the profession and practice of Christianity? You'll find that the answer to this question is in consequence of the following letter. Reverend Sir, I've often been asked by my acquaintances to go to a play, but haven't had the blessing of a religious education and a good example of pious relatives, and being apprehensive that such diversions tend to diminish, if not entirely extinguish, the zeal we should have for the honor of God and the purity of religion, to eradicate all serious impressions, to cloud our evidences and make us careless about our precious and immortal souls, and indirectly incline us to impurity and irreligion. I have up to now resisted their solicitations, but their entreaties becoming more frequent, and there being many truly religious persons who have gone to the theater at times, and still go, my resolutions are almost broken. Therefore I beg that you will resolve the above query. End quote. The question I'm now called to answer doesn't need much consideration. It is, I apprehend, evident at first view that going to plays and such pleasing entertainments cannot be suitable to our character as Christians, as they greatly tend to the injury of our immortal souls. Yet because there are many who are captivated with these bewitching vanities, and are willing to find excuses for their pursuit of them, and say, there is no harm in it, there are many who are in great danger of being carried away with this enchanting pleasures, and yet they would be glad to be fortified against the snare. So I would take this case into particular consideration, and endeavor to convince you of the unsuitableness and danger of such practices. May what I have to offer on this subject strike your minds with a peculiar force. May you lie open to conviction, and upon a consciousness of any evil attending this practice, be enabled to resolve, through divine strength, to guard against this and every other pleasure that has a tendency to injure your everlasting welfare, and break in upon the peace of your souls. For I would have the truth of what I say appeal to the consciences of those who attend plays and other diversions of the like kind. I only beg this favor, that you'd give everything that is said its due weight, and let conscience have its full liberty. Let that but speak, and it will soon decide the point. Having thus in some measure prepared the way, I would recommend to your consideration the following things. Number 1, attending plays and other diversions of like kind is by no means profitable to our souls. If upon examination we find that no real advantage can be gained, then this should be a means to curb our inclinations and make us suspect that it may be our duty to guard against all such diversions. Some indeed plead, as an excuse, that persons may be improved by the theater, and gain as much advantage from a play as from hearing a sermon. This is a sad reflection upon preaching the word, and however it is as to some particular sermons, those which are only empty harangues contrary to the genius of the gospel, and designed only to tickle the ear and please the fancy, yet preaching, abstractly considered, is a divine institution, and therefore we may expect a divine blessing upon it to make it effectual to promote our spiritual advantage. This cannot be said of a play, which is a mere human invention. It is not designed to conform us to God, but only to amuse us. We cannot therefore reasonably expect the blessing of God upon it, to make it effectual to our real advantage. Such excuses as these are very trifling, and will not bear even the most superficial examination. There is so much that tends to eradicate all serious impressions, to corrupt the mind and to promote dissolute manners, and so little tends to usefulness, and as little is attended with such circumstances that there is not the least probability of our being real gainers by a play. Who would go to the theater, or to public diversions, to learn to hate sin, to love holiness, and to be brought nearer to God? Does anyone really attend with these views and desires? I appeal to you, is it so? You who have frequented the playhouse, what led you there? Was it a desire for spiritual advantage? I may answer for you, no, and I say you didn't have the least view to this. It was a love of pleasure, of mirth, that carried you there, and not any view to the glory of God, or to your spiritual profit. You may perhaps say there is something peculiarly awful in a tragedy. You seen the assembly struck with a solemn silence. Indeed, many faces were all bedewed with tears. This is no proof that any real advantage is gained. Music, likewise, has all the charms of eloquence, all the force of oratory in it, and those who have a musical soul cannot withstand its influence. Its effects upon us, either to fill us with melancholy or to elate us, will vary according to the suitableness of the music to our natural frame and constitution. Therefore, you see, this is something of a mechanism, so the passions may be touched and wound up to the highest pitch by the manner of action upon the stage and so on. But no saving spiritual impressions are made, nor is any good received. But if there was anything in a tragedy to strike the mind and fit it for serious thoughtfulness, if there is any part of the performance intended to convict a spectator, yet the evening generally concludes with some indecent entertainment, or something that tends to remove all gloom from the mind, and put an entire stop to all solid thought, thus not being calculated to promote our spiritual advantages, plays have nothing in them that would appear sufficient to engage our attention. Roman numeral 2. Much time is spent in these diversions that might be spent to better purposes. Time is a precious thing, an invaluable jewel. None can speak of its worth but a dying person, or those who have entered the regions of an awful eternity. And must his time be spent in vanity, or thrown away upon the empty, unsatisfying pleasures of the present life? Time, oh, what is it? Time, the supreme. Time is eternity, pregnant with all eternity can give. Who murders time, he crushes into birth, a power ethereal, only not adored. The inimitable Young had such a sense of time when he wrote those lines, and all that we all had the same striking view of it. Couldn't you spend to better advantage as well, be it to theater, than to spend your time unprofitably as many others do, in reviling their neighbors or in frothy, even injurious conversation? But if others spend theirs unprofitably, is that a sufficient excuse or reason for you to do so? Whatever we see in others that is unsuitable to the character of a Christian, we should endeavor to carefully avoid. For it is inexcusable for someone to condemn anything in others who is guilty of the same thing or worse himself. But when you are in the playhouse, consider, how many are there in their closets examining the state of their souls, or looking up to God by prayer? How many are with their families, engaged in social worship, or employed in religious and most instructive conversation? It'd be better if this is the case with you. You may sport with time now in the midst of health, but the awful period is coming when you will see the value of it. Will so many hours spent in these public diversions afford a pleasing review? Will it give you any satisfaction in the near view of eternity? Look back and consider how many important duties have been neglected, while you have been gratifying a low inclination among crowds of vain and irreligious persons at the playhouse. Will such a reflection as this soften a dying pillow, silence the clamors of an awakened conscience, or soothe the horrors of that critical and important hour? Hear what a soul under the force of alarming conviction says on the subject. Hear the reflections of an expiring sinner. Quote, "Oh, the time I have foolishly, no wickedly spent in the playhouse, and in other vain and ensnaring diversions. Oh, that I should have no concern for my dear immortal soul. Oh, how gladly I would call back the hours I have wasted in such a criminal and stupid manner. But they are gone, gone and never to return, and all before me is eternity. Oh, what a review! It fills me with shame and confusion, and the pleasures that once entertained me so much and raised my laughter now sting and wound me to my very heart." End quote. I would to God that every person who has any fondness for the diversions of the stage may see them in this light, and be deeply humbled for spending so much precious time in so unprofitable a manner. On this account it is highly unsuitable to our character as rational creatures, especially as Christians, to frequent the theater. Roman numeral 3. Attending plays and other such pleasures greatly unfits us for the discharge of spiritual duties, and leads us to neglect them. If the diversions of the stage could be used only as a relaxation of the mind, to unbend our thoughts for the present, so that we may be better fit for engaging in religious duties, and go to them with greater eagerness and delight, then there would be some show of an argument for pursuing them. But did these diversions meet this purpose? You have been there. I leave your conscience to answer these questions. Is it an easy transition from the playhouse to the duties of the family or the prayer closet? Can you then read the Word of God and seek Him by prayer, with as much composure of mind and freedom from regularity of thought? Can you expect Him with you in spiritual duties after you have been wasting so much time in these empty pleasures? Have you gone into your private times with the same quietness of mind and met with the presence of God as usual? Oh, be faithful to your soul in this point. Don't smother the truth. Indeed, I would charge you in the name of the Lord to give your consciences full scope, and let it speak matter-of-factly. Stand the test, then, and answer these questions if you can. When you come away, isn't your mind full of what you heard? Don't the pleasing scenes which struck your fancy follow you into your closet? Oftentimes, isn't it some days before you can shake off the diverting thought? Haven't you found a shyness toward duty after attending a stage? Could you go to God with that confidence as before, till you had humbled yourself before Him, and applied afresh for the blood of sprinkling? After you have been at the playhouse, have you had time to perform family and private duties, or arrived late to an assembly? Oh, the duties that have been curtailed and often neglected by attending such public diversions. If this is the case, then, it manifestly appears that going to plays and to pleasures of that kind is by no means suitable to the profession and practice of Christianity. Number 4. Attending plays and other such diversions has a particular tendency to set persons against the power and life of religion, and to make them take up with a mere form of it. That religion which will not permit the pleasures of the playhouse is disregarded by all the admirers of the stage. What will they do who have had a religious education and have been followed with repeated convictions? They endeavor by all possible means to satisfy their consciences that attending plays may be innocently done, and that it is perfectly consistent with real Christianity. That the child who has been accustomed to family and private duties begins to look at such things as unnecessary, and to think a pious parent is too severe for abridging his children of amusement that is so innocent. The young person, now frivolous in his behavior and wild in his sentiments, is ready to think a godly minister is too stiff and precise, because he faithfully reproves the lovers of pleasure. He cannot think so much duty is required, that so much praying, self-examination, mortification are necessary. Therefore, by degrees, he loses all that regard for religion, and for the people of God that he once professed to have, and at last he boldly sits in the seat of the scoffer. I need not ask you, my friends, whether this is the case or not. No doubt you have known many awful instances of it, and thereby you see the evil tendency of plays and other pleasures of that kind. If there are any of you who visit these houses of pleasure, let me again appeal to your consciences for the truth of what I say. Let me particularly appeal to you who have had a religious education, but have been led aside by these captivating pleasures. Isn't what I have said agreeable to truth? You dare not deny the awful fact, but you would gladly smother it. You once discovered a serious disposition, but plays, assemblies, and so on gave you a disrelish for strict practical religion, and led you to look at it as unnecessary and burdensome. And now you would gladly vindicate your present practices. But you cannot. Conscience will at times speak and remonstrate. How awful that anyone should attempt to defend a practice so injurious. Do you ever see any persons attend a playhouse who are growing and flourishing Christians? As soon as they begin to make their appearance there, and to relish a stage and other such diversions, they begin to dwindle, and to sink into sad formality. If this is the case, then it clearly shows how unsuitable attending a theater is, to the profession and practice of Christianity. Number 5. Attending plays and other such diversions is accompanied with the greatest evils. This practice is a sad inlet into all manner of sins, opening a door to the greatest extravagances for which, to support them, the most desperate measures are often taken. This brings the poor unhappy creature to an ignominious end. This stage may boast of thousands and tens of thousands that it has led captive, and ruin both as to time and eternity. How many lovely youths, who once were fair bid for heaven, here lost all their convictions, were introduced into evil company, turned out to greatest debauchees, consumed their substance, destroyed their constitution, broke the hearts of their aged relatives, and by their intemperance and debaucheries did not live out half their days. We have too many awful instances to deny that this is the case, and it is no wonder when we consider the degeneracy of our natures, and the tendency of plays to lead to profaneness in conversation, and to promote impurity of thought by the wanton songs of filthy jests, and the blasphemous speeches with which many of them are crowded. A youth who has lost his religion here becomes an easy prey to the great enemy of souls. For what does he have to ballast him? Intoxicated with pleasure, he is like a drunken man. He has nothing to prevent his complying with every temptation that is presented before him. Oh, how many upon a dying bed have lamented their frequenting the stage and other public pleasures. How many have cursed the day that brought them to see a play, and entangled them in such company as proved to be their ruin. Oh, how happy if I had never stepped out of the road I was directed to by my religious relatives. I was guarded against running into such dangerous paths, cautioned about the consequences, but alas, I would not hearken to the tender solicitations of my affectionate friends. I thought I might innocently go, and oh, ere my unwary feet were caught, the net was carefully spread, and I was taken. Oh, lament, lament, my soul, the time, the hour I first gained upon those pleasing but destructive scenes. Now I'm going into eternity to give an account of the proof of it to an infinitely just and holy God. And oh, how awful the view! What can I expect after a life of such irreligion and profaneness? Thus many have been led to infidelity and impiety, and they will have, it is to be feared, in eternity to bewail their folly and stupidity. Number 6, for professors to attend plays and other such entertainments is to set a bad example. Thus our young friend mentions it as being a temptation to him, and is an argument almost sufficient to answer every objection, namely that many truly religious persons have and still do at times attend the theater. This is an awful consideration. What, a Christian seen at a playhouse? It is something indeed amazing. It is no wonder to see an immoral person crowding after public diversions, one who has no sense of the worth of a soul and the importance of eternity. But to see a professor of religion, one who is willing to be esteemed a Christian indeed, one who perhaps appears at the table of our Lord, to see such a person amidst a crowded assembly at the theater, and to hear him excusing his attendance by saying there is no harm in it, is something awful. Well may a poor giddy sinner make a bad use of such an example. Well may an unsteady youth say, I may certainly go now when such a person attends. I may now conclude it is not inconsistent with a religious character, and therefore I may indulge my inclinations when an opportunity offers. Oh, I see the melancholy consequences and the destructive influence of a bad example. Remember, if you go, others will go too. And suppose you could go to the theater innocently. Yet many who are perhaps prevailed upon to go through your example may be ruined forever. They cannot withstand a fourth of those temptations that are before them. Therefore, a concern for the glory of God, a consideration of the influence of our example, and a regard for others should keep us from the playhouse, and from every pleasure that we think may be injurious to the souls of others, even supposing it were not so to our own. Thus I have hinted a few things that are, I apprehend, sufficient to show that going to the theater and so on is unsuitable to the profession and practice of Christianity. If any among you have an inclination to attend the stage, or other public pleasures, and can answer to God, to yourselves, and to others, that none of these things will be the consequences, then go. But I may venture to say that the above hints are so near the truth that none who have frequented public places of pleasure can deny them, if they would faithfully relate their own experience. I would now therefore accompany what I have said with a warm and affectionate address. Number 1. To masters and heads of families, particularly to those who attend the theater themselves, let me entreat you to consider the bad example you are setting before your families. Consider the unhappy use they are likely to make of it. No wonder you find them desirous to walk in your steps, to see you frequently setting out for the theater, and to hear you perhaps recommending some of the parts you have seen acted. This cannot help but raise a curiosity in them to see the same thing, and they apprehend that they may boldly ask to go, or even take the liberty, if it should be denied. And what can you say to discourage them? You cannot consistently represent the danger of such practices. This would be an argument against your own attendance as well as theirs. How can you forbid them going or curb an inclination in them to attend a theater? How can you complain of their extravagancies or correct them for being there so frequently? You led them there yourselves. You may justly chide yourselves and say, how can I wonder to see in my children and servants such a desire for the pleasure of the stage, when I've done enough to raise it in them? Must I not blame myself for all the frivolousness and extravagance of my child? I first taught him to go to a play, and see what evils I've introduced into my family by this. I gave my son a taste for the playhouse, and see what the consequences are. He has contracted an acquaintance with those who will be his ruin. How extravagant he is in his expenses, how he enfeebles his constitution by intemperance, and so on. And what will be the end of it all? A tragic one, I fear, and all occasioned by my own folly. Let me speak a word to those who permit their children and servants to frequent those diversions. Is it so? Do you take no care how your children and servants spend their evenings? Do you never inquire into the company they keep? Do you never guard them against those houses of pleasure that are so ruinous to youth? Can you connive at the liberties they take, the hours they spend abroad, and allow them to wantonly indulge every criminal inclination? Oh, how can you answer for it to God, to your own consciences, and to those who entrusted their children in relations to you? You never considered that the souls of your family are committed to your care? Do your consciences never check you for acting so cruel a part by your children, and so unfaithfully by your servants? Oh, how you are helping your family to ruin, seeing Satan's hurrying them on to destruction, and yet never endeavoring to prevent it. Alas, alas, use your authority. Let the souls of your family lie weightily on your mind, and don't allow one in your house to press on in the road to everlasting destruction, without warning them of the danger, and endeavoring to do all you can to promote their salvation. Number 2, I would address myself to professors of religion on the subject. Need I ask whether any of such character attend a theater? This city presents us with too many awful instances of it. See among the crowd that is pressing into the playhouse, how many are professors. They cheerfully mingle with the throng, appear as eager as any in the pursuit of pleasure, and as much delighted with those scenes of vanity. Weep, my soul, that this is the case. And won't everyone who has a zeal for Christ shed a tear, that he should be thus dishonored? How shall I address you, you cold professors? Do you have any real love for Jesus? Doesn't your heart deceive you? Is it surely so? It is a sign that your love is but cold, your faith weak, and that you have but little concern for the glory of God, when you can hurry to such places of profaneness. Let me entreat you to consider how inconsistent your conduct is. How can you answer for it to your fellow Christians, to God, and to your own consciences? Oh, you stumble, you discourage. Indeed, you harden many. You occasion many poor reflections upon Christ and his interest. May he not justly complain of you and say, What? Have you no regard for my glory? Would you bear my name and yet harden the hearts of so many against me, encourage their sin and bring such a dishonor upon me? Have I done anything to deserve such coldness, you lazy professors? Consider my love, consider my service, and let a zeal for my glory continually animate your souls, and guard you against everything that tends to weaken your hands, and to bring any poor reflections upon me or my cause. Number 3, I would close all this with a particular address to young persons. You are the persons who are more particularly under temptation of being carried away by such bewitching vanities. I would therefore guard you against them. Have any of you attended these houses of pleasure? Haven't you found that they tend to give you looser thoughts of religion than you once had, and to lead you to take greater liberties than you once did? Let this satisfy you that there is a danger in them. Therefore be persuaded to carefully avoid them, and be deeply humble before God that you have ever frequented them. I hope you are not determined against your own conviction. I would set before you the worth of your souls, the importance of eternity, and call you to view the transactions of the great day, when you will receive a sentence of everlasting life or of everlasting condemnation. Oh, consider how you will answer to an infinitely holy God for spending so much time in such empty pleasures. View the vast assembly that will be gathered. See thousands of thousands at the right hand of Jesus, and a numberless throng at his left hand. See all earthly scenes closing forever, and the state of each person fixed. Oh, if your mind were just once suitably impressed with a sense of these important things, you would soon see the impropriety and danger of plays. Your mind would be taken up with viewing subjects of infinitely greater importance than these low and perishing things. Oh, my dear young friends, I cannot leave you, knowing the snares you are exposed to. I would entreat you, I would warn you, I would beseech you. If you have any concern for your souls, if any love for your friends, any desire to honor Christ, let me beseech you to guard against these and similar bewitching pleasures. If I cannot leave you, I would try once more to convince and move you. I would beseech you by the love of the mighty God. Oh, see him willingly veil in his glory and coming to rescue poor souls from everlasting misery. Behold him nailed to the accursed tree. Hear him groaning. See him bleeding, dying, and all to redeem precious souls, and to purchase for them the blessings of salvation. And can you now dishonor this Jesus? I wouldn't think so hardly of you. Surely you cannot. And some labor to follow Solomon's advice, Proverbs 1 verse 10. If sinners entice you, do not consent. Let me beg you to follow the instructions of your religious friends, and while others are spending their time in the pursuit of pleasure, you should be considering and pursuing the concerns of your soul. You will find it in your unspeakable satisfaction, both in life and at death, that while others are trembling and shuddering on the brink, you will stand and look into eternity. You will be enabled to say with the apostle in 2 Timothy 4, 7, and 8, We have fought the good fight. We have finished our course, and have kept the faith. Oh, it is impossible to express the pleasure this will give you. If then you have any concern for your peace, living and dying, beg of God to keep you from sin, and to enable you to improve and use your time, that it may be for your everlasting advantage. Amen.